think we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we have amnotvet. So Nikita is on the other end of the phone, and we're going to do a WebEx looking at amnotvet is a hosted Moodle solution. So I think, Nikita, you're willing to take questions at any point through this, correct?
Absolutely.
Great. And one of the things that I know you're going to demo is their collaboration product, which is probably, if not the best, one of the best that we've seen in this whole process. And Nikita is going to tape this as well as Mac is taping, so we will have this available for folks who couldn't make it today. With that, Nikita, it's all yours.
Alrighty, well, thanks for that introduction, Jim. So everyone, feel free to ask questions anytime. I'll start by showing you the teacher side of how it looks as a professor or a teacher in the class. Then I'll show the student side and the admin side, and then we'll go into the live classroom and our amnotvet publish tool also. So the first step is, of course, logging in. It's a very simple process. Enter your username, password. We do have the availability of a feature called Login as Guest, which you can enable in courses. That'll allow maybe prospective students to take a look at the class, I suppose, as an example. And of course, if you forget anything, you can just click this button and it'll guide you through resetting your password. So I'll just click Login, logging in with my username and password. And I'm presented with this screen. And how Moodle works is there's a block-based system, so there's blocks on the left side and right side of the LMS, and in the center is usually the content. So on this page, for example, at the top you'll have a news forum, which is available to all users of the system, whether they're a professor or a student. All users will see this. This could be used for campus-wide announcements or school-wide announcements. On the left side, all of these blocks, by the way, are modifiable as the administrator, which I'll show later, but the standard ones are included, which is the calendar, so it's showing any of the dates when we have assessments in red, for example. See, when I'm scrolling over, it shows when the assessment is due for this teacher, like when they set up the assessment to be due. It shows any of the other courses that the teacher is enrolled in, any of the recent activity that the teacher did, like doing any of the grades. Maybe they can see where they left off last. And on the right side is things that are upcoming, like any important assignments that are due soon for the students. And in the center of the screen is the list of courses that we are enrolled in as a teacher, as well as the search courses button. So if we were enrolled, let's say, in 30 courses, very unlikely, but maybe you have a lot of sections of a particular class, you'd be able to just search them using this bar. To get into the course itself, we just click on its name once, such as the amnotvet demonstration. And this is how a course looks like. On the left side, again, is a block, as well as on the right side. So I'll show you how you can tweak these blocks. And in the center is the content of the course itself as well. So you can see you can embed videos directly into this system, and there's lots of other cool stuff I'll go over, such as like this quiz. This icon means quiz. This icon means live class. This icon means a forum. This one means the SCORM package, and I'll go over that a little bit later. To do anything in the class, we have to click the button Turn Editing On. It's available in two positions, under the administration block and at the top right of the screen. So let's say I want to move these blocks around as an example. I just click on Turn Editing On, and you'll notice new icons appear under each of the blocks and to the right of each of our activities inside of the system. So let's say, for example, I wanted to move my calendar to the left. I could do it just by clicking this green arrow once, and it'll be on the left side. If I want to delete any of the blocks, I just click the red X, and the block will be deleted. To add any block back in that I deleted, I just click on blocks, and as you can see, there's a bunch of different blocks available. In this demo, I'll keep it minimalistic, but there is a ton of different features you could put in. For example, you could make an HTML block, which basically means you could embed video into one of these small blocks, as an example, or some kind of audio. You could put in attendance so that you could tell who's logging into class and when they log in. That's also available in reports, but that's kind of a structure so that you don't have to look at the reports. It's particularly designed for that. There's quiz results, so you can see how the students are doing without having to go into the gradebook and so on. So a lot of different blocks that are configurable. And you can move them left, right. You can delete them. You can hide them. This little icon If you click on it once, it'll actually be hidden, and it'll appear as a closed eye symbol. And if you click it again, it's an open eye symbol, and so now it's available to be viewed. You can even change roles for a given block, but first I'll probably go over assign roles before we get into that. So in the meantime, feel free to ask any questions at any point. So mainly in the administration block is how you'll run your course. Settings, if we click that, allows us to change our course settings, what the name of our course is, what the short name is, and the short name actually appears in the breadcrumb trail, which is available at the top left. So if you're navigating in between items, you can use this breadcrumb trail. So demo, for example, is the name of our site, and amnotvet demo is the name of our course, and then it shows that we're editing course settings right now. If you have a question any point in time when you're starting to use the system, like for example, what is full name? If you click this yellow question mark icon, it'll give you an explanation of what each field stands for and does. Summary is displayed to the right side of a course. So when students are going to be first taking a class, before they actually get into the class, on the right side there could be a description of what the class is about. You can change the format of your course. Right now our course is in the weekly format, which means that it's going by a calendar-based system, but you can also make it, if it's an on-demand course that's accessed, 365 days a year with enrollments taking place every week, you could change it into topics format and then just organize it based on like weekly, like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and so on. You can modify all kinds of settings here. When does the course start? How many weeks and topics is it? Do you want to show a grade book to your students? How big of a file is the biggest file you can upload in the course? And so on. So I won't go over all of these in the essence of time, but these are just the settings for the course. There's also assigning roles. So if I click on that, actually, it allows me to add students into my class. Administrators can also do this, and using an Excel file, you can actually import all students into the system and assign them to the classes already. But if you choose to do it manually, you could just click on Assign Roles, Student, and all the list of students appears on the right side. You can click to select multiple users, hold down like the Shift key, and select all of these users as an example. And then when you click on Add, those students will be students in the class and have access to the class as a student. There's a grade book inside of the system too, so if I click on grades, what you'll see is all of the assignments are listed at the top. All of the students on the left side, their grades are in here in the middle. And if you want to take and look more detail into a particular assignment, such as homework lesson 1, for example, if I click on homework lesson 1, you'll see here there's a list of students, here's a list of their grades, here's when they submitted the assignment and the date that happened, and when the teacher modified this assignment or gave them a grade. If you want to give a student a grade, you could just click the grade button, and this new window appears, and that's how you give grades to students. You simply select from the drop-down how many points you want to give them. You can give comments and so on. I'll show you one which I did recently, which is this one. So here's the grade. Select a grade from 100 points, and I'll go over assignments later on because you can tweak how many points each assignment is worth. You can give them a comment. You can upload a response file. So if you end up, let's say it's an essay assignment, and you do track changes in Microsoft Word, for example, you could upload your changes to their essay assignment, and they'll receive an email notification and a copy of the comment, the grade, and the file itself as well, with your changes in it. So that's how easy it is to give a grade to a student for an assignment, as an example. And anytime a student submits an assignment, what happens is there's actually an exclamation point mark icon here. So if I was a student, I submitted, let's say, for example, Trainee 3 submitted homework lesson 1, there'd be an exclamation point. They just click on it, and it actually would take them directly to this page, directly from there. So you wouldn't have to go through 3 clicks. It would be just 1 click, and you would be on this page if there was an assignment available. So I'll go back to the course using the breadcrumb trail there, as you saw. We also have the feature for groups. So if you have a very large class, let's say, for example, I don't know, let's say 500 students in a given class, you could assign separate groups, let's say one one group of students is at 1 o'clock, the second group is at 2. You could split them up into groups and grouplets, so you can do that from here. For example, new growth solutions, if I click show members of this group, it shows who is a student in that group. And you can add as many groups as you like, and groups cannot see each other's work. So if you establish groups inside of a course, for example, and they post on a forum, different groups will see their own group's posts. They won't see the posts of another group, and so on. There's an import feature, so if I had, let's say, I don't have any other courses to be able to use this here, but what it does is when I do have like a second course, is it allows me to import materials from my other course into this one, so that's a way to duplicate materials without having to redo it. So for example, you could have the same essay assignment in 6 courses and just import it in instead of having to redo it. And you can also import groups as well from here as well. If you want to start fresh, you could click the reset button, and that would reset the course, so I'm not going to do that right now. But that'll basically keep the settings the same, like the dates, and actually it'll keep all the assignments and everything there. It just clears all the grades and all the users from the course. That's what the reset function does. Reports allows us to see what everyone is doing. So for example, I select the first drop down is the course. The second one is the users, so I could click on, for example, student user. I want to see what student user did, not today, but all days, and I want to see it for all activities. Here's a list of all the activities we have in our course, but let's say I want to see their activity, what they did in all the activities, all actions, whether they viewed something, added something, updated any of their assignments, anything like that, or deleted anything. I want to see all of that. And then you can select the format. So you could either download it, let's say in an Excel format, or just display on page, which is what I'm going to do now. When I click Get These Logs, I see the date and the time, the IP address, the name of the user, and what they did, as well as where they did it. So I can see, for example, on Wednesday, February 19th at 3:20 p.m., my student user attempted the quiz, which is amnotvet LCMS1 quiz. And you can do the same thing with any of the other stuff. So they viewed the assignment at 1:53. They uploaded an assignment for homework lesson 1 at 1:53, and so on. So we have that available as well. The next feature down is the quiz bank. So if I had any questions for any of my quizzes, they would be displayed here. So you could add course-wide quiz questions in here and organize them based on categories. We'll go over that a little bit in more detail once we hit quizzes. You can upload files and share them with users. If I click on files, you'll see all of these files. It shows when you uploaded or modified the file, how big it is. You can rename the file by clicking rename, and so on. So that covers the administration panel of a course. Apart from being able to unenroll yourself, if you're a teacher and you're done with the course, you could unenroll yourself, or you could click on profile to edit your profile. So you can upload your picture, you could change, I'll click on edit profile to show you how you do that, but here you could just change your first name, your last name, your email address. If you want everyone to see your email or hide it from particular users, if the email will be active, which means that you want to receive notifications on that email when assignments are completed, and so on. And you can upload your picture here. If you click choose file, it'll go here. You can select it. It'll be uploaded. Also through profile, you can see any forum posts you did and when you did them. You can take a look at any of the discussions you participated in. If you have a blog, it'll be here. I didn't add a blog, but it could be here. Notes. You can add new notes for individual users. So let's say you have students. And this is just from my own profile, but if I clicked on a student's profile, I would be able to add notes about my students, like maybe this student needs more help in this area or something along those lines. And also you can take a look at activity reports of an individual user kind of in a picture style. So it's more of showing you what the icon is, the essay, or the name of the whatever thing it might be, like the name of the forum, the name of the quiz, the name of the essay, if you viewed it at all. So, and you can see this also for student users as well, based upon your outline in your course. And there's a ton of different ways you could see this as well. You could see statistics. There's none to display for myself, but if it was for a student user, here's a complete report. So that's the same thing as the outline report, but except in more detail. So instead of just showing the forum, it actually shows the post you made on the forum, and so on. Next, I'll go over just adding and removing activities from our course. So any of the things we see here, such as the forum, and I'll actually show you some of the activities first, like the forum. If we click on it once, this is how a forum looks. This is the name, not the name, but the description of the forum, what the forum will be about. This is the forum name. Here are any of the posts made or topics created for discussions in the forum. If you click on the discussion topic, you'll see all the posts inside of it as well. Another type of activity we have is a quiz. So a quiz can be auto-graded, or it can be manually graded depending on the question type. So here's an example quiz. This is a multiple choice question that has multiple answers available. This is a multiple choice question with just one answer available. And here's an essay assignment question that's a short answer or extended response that you can type in. When you finish a quiz, it gives you information of when it was taken and so on, and how long it took you to do it. There's also an assignment. If I click on the essay assignment, for example, this is how it looks like. It shows dates when the essay assignment is available, when it's closed, and what the essay assignment itself is. And of course, since I'm a teacher, I see that no attempts have been made on this assignment, but if any had been, it would say the number of attempts here, and you could click on it and it would take you to the grades for the assignment. Here's how any file look like. For example, a Word document. Download the document and review it. When you click on a document, the student would be able to download it and open it on their computer, just like this. I could click on the document and it would appear, such as this document right here. And adding that stuff is really easy. As you can see, for each of the weeks, there's the Add a Resource and Add an Activity buttons. Add a Resource allows you to add things like files and links to a website. All you need to do in order to do that is click on Add a Resource and select link to a file or website as an example. And let's say I want to put Google's site. Just type in the name there, type in the URL in the field, link to a file or website. And then there's options for it. Do you want to appear in the same window, in a new window? You can set those up. When you click Save and Return to Course, the activity is added and it can be viewed. So here's, for example, the Google site. I click on it, opens in a new tab or window, and loads for me that way.
Now,
and the same way how we did that.
Excuse me, Nikita, it's Mark Lynn. How are you?
Hey, Mark, great. How are you?
Good. Got a question. I saw one of the things on there where you could check visible or not. Can you determine when you want it to be visible, or do you have to manually make it visible at that time?
Sure. When it's talking about make it visible or not, it's actually this icon. So here I'll click to show you. It's the open eye symbol. If I click hide, for example, and I save and return to the course, you'll notice it's a closed eye icon. So you can easily just make it visible or invisible just by clicking that icon once. For things like assignments, like the essay assignment, you can determine whether it's visible or not. Like if I update it, for example, there's a particular field that says available from and due date.
Yeah,
so
I got it. Thank you. Good.
Sure. Yep. So you have that available for some of the things, not for all of them. Like it's not that way for resources, like a Word document or a PDF, but for anything that the student actually has to submit, like a quiz, an assignment, or a forum, you can determine that through the settings.
Thank you.
Moving on, the same way how I did Google Site to be able to view it, I can also upload a file the same way. I actually select the same exact option, link to a file or website, and instead of, like I'll put my file here as a demo, but instead of actually typing in a web address, you just click on Choose or Upload a File, and our file folder appears. And we can upload new files if we click on Upload a File, and then we go through this process. I won't bore you with that. It's a very simple process. But let's say I want infographic presentation to be visible. I just click on Open. The URL changes automatically to be that file name. Click Save and Return to Course, and my file is uploaded and available for end users. And there's other resources. I won't go over all of them. You can compose a text page or a web page or display a directory like this directory, like the Flash Animations directory as an example. Like it's basically a folder with files in it. So you can do that with add a resource. I would like to go over add an activity in a little bit more detail. What we have here are just the basic activities for a simplified demo. In reality, there's over 60 activities we can add by default, but we can tweak it based on your needs. Like when we start going, more in depth on what everyone uses at John Carroll, we can determine what activities to put in from all those 60. So we don't have to have a giant list. We can just put in a customized list of whatever activities that you would need. I'll go over assignments, for example. Let's say upload a single file as one of the examples, and what that is something that an end user, like a student, will submit. Let's say, for example, an essay, or it could be like something more unique where you ask them to compose like a 3-minute video on a business idea, and they could submit that as a response too. It's not limited to just a written file. It could be any type of file, Photoshop file, 3D Max image, anything you need. So in this way, right here in assignment name, I'll put in Nikita's assignment as the title. The description is the actual assignment itself, so I could put something like write a 3-page paper on business as an example, and grade however many points you want it to be worth. I'll say it's worth 10 points. When do you want it to be available, or do you want it to always be available? I'll just put that it's available from February 10th to, say, February 30th, and this is the month, the year, and the times. Do you want to prevent late submissions? If you click yes on this, students will actually be not able at all to submit anything after, the 30th of February at 3:20 p.m. So, but if you mark it as no, they will be able to submit it, but you'll still see that it's late because it'll be in like red font. So I normally would just leave prevent late submissions as no. I mean, you can take off points, but it depends on your class and so on. So allow resubmitting basically means that, let's say I looked at the assignment and I say it's not, you should redo it. I delete it, and the student can then re-upload a new assignment. If you put this option as no, then you won't be able to do that. They have one shot. If they don't get it, then, too bad. They cannot resubmit it. Email alerts to teachers means that the teacher of the class will actually receive an email notification of their assignment and like what student submitted it and so on, so that they can grade it directly. And maximum size, of course, is however big of a file do you want the student to be able to submit. You just click on, if you want to click Save and Display, it'll actually go directly to how the assignment looks, just like this. And if I click Save and Return to Course, it actually goes back to the course after I save the assignment. So here's that assignment, Nikita's assignment. Same way how we added an activity for assignment, we can add a forum as well, for example. So I'll click on forum, for example, and in here I'll type in Nikita's forum and discussion on amnotvet Manage, customized version of Moodle LMS. So force everyone to be subscribed basically means that end users will receive notifications each time a new post or topic is posted on the forum. If you click yes forever, that means that they have no way to unsubscribe. Yes initially means they are subscribed, but they can cancel the subscription. Subscriptions not allowed means you don't want them to receive any notifications, and they can't even subscribe even if they want to. And of course, no means they can still subscribe, but they're not subscribed in the beginning. So all of these are just advanced options for the forum too. How big of an attachment, file size can they put in on a post if they want to? Do you want them to be able to see what posts they had read and not read? That's what retracking means. Grade, if you want to be able to grade the forum, you can select options here like, do you want to be able to give a grade for all of the posts, for one of the posts, and so on. Most of the time, forum posts aren't rated, so I'll just leave it at no ratings. And there's a lot of other advanced options like, do you want them to be able to post only 1 or 2 posts, and then that's it, they'd be blocked? You could change that number there. If I allowed blocking, like for example, they're blocked for 1 day after they post, they're blocked for 1 day after they post, let's say, 1 forum post, and so on. Click Save and Return to Course, and here's my forum. I click on the forum, and here I can add new topics. I just click on add a new discussion topic, and this is pretty self-explanatory what the title of the post would be, such as my first post, maybe. Introduce yourself to the class, as an example, and what your major is. And then you can post a picture if you wanted to the forum. Then you can select, do you want to be able to receive emails from the post, and what format you want to post the forum in. Just Moodle auto format's okay usually. Click post to forum. It says you have 30 minutes to make any changes, and of course we can change this to be 0 minutes or 4 hours, whatever you guys would need. When you click on the post, you'll see the post itself, date, time, by who, and then you can click on reply to reply to the forum, and so on. So that's how adding activities is. Last one I'll show is the quiz. So quiz is pretty detailed. If I select quiz from the drop-down list, I'll be able to give it a name, such as Nikita's quiz. I'll be able to give an introduction. This quiz is about business. Then you'll be able to set a lot of timing options. When is the quiz available, or is it always available? I'll put February 15th through February 30th. How many minutes does the end user have to complete it? You can set a time limit for the quiz. You can, if there's multiple attempts allowed, you could put time delays between the times that they are able to take it. How many questions per page? You could leave it unlimited so they scroll through the whole quiz, or you could change it to 5 so they see 5 questions at a time per page. I'll leave it as unlimited. You can shuffle question ordering and shuffle answer ordering with these two options. So each individual user then would have a totally different order of questions and answers within the questions. Attempts, you could select how many tries they have. Since it's a real serious quiz, I'll put 1 attempt only allowed. Adaptive mode, you would always leave as no. That's mostly a K through 12 feature. That's like for students, if they get 1 answer wrong, they have a chance to take the question again for less points. But you can also allow that. It depends how you want to do things. If you allow multiple attempts, you can have each attempt build on the previous one. Here, there's grading options. Like if it was more than 1 attempt, you could use one of these 3 options. If it's just 1 attempt, you would leave it as highest grade. Apply penalties also applies to adaptive mode, so it doesn't matter what you put in this option if this one is no. Decimal digits and grades, how far does the quiz go? Like, for example, 2 would mean 10.06 out of 11 points, as an example. If it was 1, it would be 10.4 out of 11 points, or 13.3. And if it's 0, it would be just a whole number, like 10 out of 11, and so on. Then these 3 options are pretty important, especially the first 2. Most of the time, you wouldn't want the correct answers to be shown, so you would uncheck the answers button. You could allow responses so the student could see what they responded and so on. Feedback, general feedback, and overall feedback are totally optional. It allows you basically to, let's say, after the student receives a certain percentage, like overall feedback, they would get a text message such as, great job. If they got, let's say, 90% on their quiz, it would say you could do better. But you don't have to do this. This is totally optional as well. But that's what feedback means. And then when we create questions, you'll see what feedback and general feedback are. And then scores, you would, of course, want to leave 2 because that's so they could see how many points they received on the given assessment. Browser security is not too important. All it does is basically prevent additional tabs to be open. If you want, you could enable that so that they could only see, for example, the quiz, and they wouldn't be able to open a new window. But of course, if they have like an iPad or iPhone and they're taking it on the computer, they could still browse the internet on their device or something. So depending on however you feel like doing that, if they're in a computer lab, for example, and you leave this on, then you shouldn't have any problems if there's like if it's proctored, I suppose. And you can also require a password on the quiz. So let's say, for example, you have a particular assessment, and in order to even take the assessment, they need to be in class, in real-life class, and they only get the password during class, as an example. So you could put that there. And other options are totally optional. Groups, again, applies if you have a very large class. You could split it up so that separate groups means that they will not see each other at all. Actually, you will not see you'll see them in separate groups when giving grades. And visible means that you'll see them all in the same group when giving a grade. And of course, overall feedback I already explained. So those are just the options to set up the actual quiz itself. I'll click Save and return the course. And here's my quiz. When you click on the quiz, you'll see two panels. One's the questions in this quiz, which we haven't added in yet, and one's question bank. Adding a quiz question is easy. You just click on the Choose drop-down from to the right of Create New Question. So I could select, for example, multiple choice, and this is how you actually add questions to your quiz. So I could put, for example, Q1 test, and the question text is the actual question itself. So what color is the sky could be a question. Image to display, if you have any images uploaded, you could use them inside your quiz as well. It would be displayed. I'll just do that as a demo with maybe the amnotvet logo. General feedback is displayed whether the user gets the question right or wrong. It could be something like the answer to this question is on page 6 in X book. But you don't have to do that. It's optional. Anything, by the way, that's required will have a red asterisk symbol next to it. Anything that's optional will not. So default question grade, how many points the question is worth. Penalty factor you don't need unless, basically it means how many points off they get if they get the answer incorrect once. If you had adaptive mode on, like I showed in the previous screen, that would apply. But since we're not using that, we don't have to touch that at all. You can select if you want one answer only or if you want to allow multiple answers, and you can shuffle the choices and choose how the choices will be displayed. And then here comes the answer. So what color is the sky? I'll put blue. If it's a correct answer, I have to change the grade to 100% for the response, and if it's incorrect, I just leave the grade as none. So I could put blue, gray, well, I guess gray is real color, so brown, red, orange. And you can add as many options as you like if you click blanks for 3 more choices. So you could literally have a multiple choice question with 20 choices if you wanted to. And of course, overall feedback, what the user would receive if they answered the question correctly, if they get it partially correct, or if they get it incorrect. So I filled all that out. I'll click on Save Changes.
Nikita?
And there's my, yeah?
Question?
Can you add pictures to the answers?
Sure. The question was, can we add pictures to the answers? Yes, you can. I'll show that with where did I put Q1 test, right? So click the pencil icon to get back to the question. You know what? You can, but not in this version of Chrome. In fact, it has to be, I believe, either the amnotvet application, Firefox, or IE11. Let me show you on my other browser here. Just give me 1 second. Edit. Pencil icon. There we go. So right here is how the editing could be for the given answer. So you could put in like smileys even. You could put in smileys. You could put in an image. So here's the smiley screen. You can put in an image right here. So there's a lot of details you can go into that. So yes, it is possible.
Is there also an equation editor there?
Yes, yes. This one. This one's based on Java. There's different plugins too. Since this is Moodle, there's about, I would say, 700 to 800 different plugins and add-ons that we could add in, that we can present, and then John Carroll can say, well, we want these 37 plugins to be inside of our system that have additional features that we like, so we can put those in. That's one of the advantages also of Moodle being open source. It's really customizable, and there's a lot of stuff out there that's been contributed that's used by a lot of higher ed institutes also. So yeah, here's just one of the equation editors. So, any other questions on quiz so far? Okay. You can add questions easily one at a time by clicking the double triangle to the left. You can preview any of the questions by clicking the magnifying glass icon. It'll show you how the question will look. You can edit it by clicking pencil icon. You can move its order or move it to another category using this icon, and you can delete it with the red X. And if you want to add more than one question, you can check mark them and simply click Add to Quiz. So I didn't show all of the features of quiz because it would probably take a while, but it's pretty advanced. And if you want to see how your whole quiz looks, you can click on Preview, and there it is. We have a 10-minute time limit. Here's our questions, and so on. And if you want to, by the way, preview this as a student, we have a Switch Roll To button at the top right, and I can select student, and that's how it'll look for a student. So you can see it's a lot more simplified. They only have accessibility to these blocks, and you can delete these blocks. So in reality, the only thing that the student really needs is just to see their grades. Everything else is optional. And if you want to return to your normal role, just click on Return to My Normal Role, and you'll have all the editing options again. And of course, the same way how we had stuff to be able to move around things on the blocks, we also have that with the buttons here. Like I can click this button and be able to move the question, or not the question, sorry, that activity to any of the boxes here. So for example, I want to move it here, click inside of that box, and that activity will be moved there. That pretty much covers the amnotvet Manage or Moodle portion. Any particular questions on that before I move on into the amnotvet Connect portion?
Looks like you're good.
Alrighty, excellent. So
Nikita,
next I'll show.
Nikita?
Yeah.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you have two sections. Do you have to redo this for each section, or is there a way that you can do all sections at one time? For example,
Two sections. You mean like
on modern contemporary East Asia, and you know, does that mean that every time I want to put up a document, I have to do it twice, or can I do it once and then push a button and it will immediately copy it to the other section?
I see. I guess what you're saying is if you have like, let's say 2 courses, you mean like
Yeah,
they're both the same course, but.
Yeah.
Right. So you can, if it's the same exact materials and the same exact class, but the only difference is the people who are enrolled in, you could actually keep the same course and just assign different groups to it. So like if a course, like a class has 300 students with 3 sections of 100 students each, you can establish groups so you don't even have to put in the assignment into the other section courses or whatever. You could actually have just one course and all 3 sections are in that one course. It's just different based upon groups. And the groups are also reflected in grades and so on. But if you did, for some reason, have maybe 2 different sections that had different materials in them a little bit, then you could use the import function. And if you would be able then to import all of the assignments or whatever in a single try without having to do each one manually. Any other questions so far?
I have one. Is there a role of a teaching assistant available?
Yes. Yes, there's, actually I'll show that in the admin interface next, before I go into amnotvet Connect. So here we have non-editing teacher, which is they can teach courses and grade students but may not alter the activities. So that could be like a teaching assistant if you want them to be able to do grades and so on. But what's really unique, and let me show you as the administrator, so I'll log in as the admin real quick here. Under users. So I won't go into this in depth because it would probably be not enough time to cover AMNOTvet Connect and Publish. But what we could do is you can add users here and so on, but you can also define roles. So here we just have these standard roles, these 7 standard roles, but you can add a new role. So let's say we called it teaching assistant as an example, and teacher assistant. Okay. So you could select what's the default role. Let's say, for example, well, I want almost everything a non-editing teacher has, right? And then you can set permissions for the whole thing, what you want them to do and what you don't want them to be able to do. So it's customizable for every single permission inside of the system for a given role. You don't have to do this, but you can set it up. So let's say you have 3 different types of teaching assistants as an example. You would be able to set that up here and be able to do whatever permissions you want to give them as well.
Thanks.
So this is Mark again, just a real quick question on this. So in other words, if I do have teaching assistants or something like that, and I don't want them to see all the students' grades on other assignments or exams, but I do want them to be able to grade a particular exam or assignment or activity, can I do that here where they can only see grades on certain things but not others?
Grades, usually because the permission would be like for the, I think you can if you establish, and that's going into the more advanced portion of the grade book, so it wouldn't be in the roles there, it would be inside of grades, inside of an option inside of grade book called edit categories and items, and then you would lock certain ones and you would change permissions of certain things in the, like, it wouldn't be like questions in the quiz, right? You would
Right. It would be the whole
right.
quiz. For example, if I have somebody that I want to be, a lot of times we'll have multiple faculty members or something grade something so we can see if different faculty grade the same thing differently. And I don't want them to see students' grades on other assignments because a lot of times they'll be predisposed to give somebody with bad grades a lower grade. I've seen that before. So if we're doing some type of assessment, it looks like we can do the type of thing I asked about. It would just be a little tedious, but we wouldn't be doing that on a regular basis anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible, probably in a few different ways, especially with overriding roles. That's the feature we would use. So yeah, it's possible. It's just not super duper simple because there's a few steps involved, like you mentioned, to be a little bit tedious, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that an assessment team could use as something they could do if they needed to.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Next, I guess I'll go back as the teacher role here. Actually, let me open a new window here. So, all right. So, if we want to enter into a live classroom to create one, which is AMNOTvet Connect, a synchronous environment, you can simply click on Add an Activity and then select AMNOTvet Room. And from the name, you would give it a name like My Live Classroom Today. As an example, would be the title. Introduction is what the user sees before they enter into the class. As an example, that's what they'll see before they enter it. And then the moderator is the actual teacher of the live class. So I would select Teacher User, which is myself. And then click Save and Return to Course. And it's right here, My Live Classroom. And when you click on it, you'll see here is the intro into the class before they enter it, what they would see, and so on. So I'll go ahead and enter into one of the live classes that I already had created, the AMNOTvet Live Synchronous Classroom. And here you can see there's a bunch of recordings that we made previously, how long the recording was, when it was created, when it was modified, and so on. And you can export recordings as SCORM packages also, because SCORM is compatible with other learning management systems. Also, if for some reason you had multiple LMSs, you could do that. You can edit the name of a recording, and you can actually edit the recording, which is amnotvet publish, but it's a pretty basic portion here. When you first click on Enter amnotvet room, you're guided through a pre-enter wizard, which will check all of your stuff, your connection, your bandwidth, any of the ports that are closed that are required by the system. It'll let you know. It'll let you know if your microphone's working, sound, and so on. I'll skip it since I won't bore you with that, but that's good for each student who might have not done that before entering the class. And this is actually how the live classroom environment looks. At the left side is the user list, which has all of the participants that are going to be in the live class, the teachers, the students, and so on. On the right side is the presentational screen, which shows any of the PowerPoints, videos, or anything else that you want to share with your users. And at the bottom is a text message window where you can send text messages. I'll actually go ahead and log in also as a student user into the system to show you the differences between the icons also. So as you can see, the teacher user, if you look to the left side, you'll see that the icon is sort of like a dark black color, and the user's name is in red, which signifies that they're the publisher of the class, meaning they can publish content and everyone in the class can see it. And now, oops, I entered as a teacher on the other computer here. Sorry about that. Give me one more second. Okay, so here's the student user. They just logged in. It shows in the text chat when they logged in, what time they logged in, and so on also. And as you can see, their icon looks like a different color. It's a lot more light gray, transparent sort of, so that signifies that the user is a student. At the bottom of the window, we have the quick response tools, which can be used for quick yes-no replies, as an example. For example, the teacher can ask, does everyone see the picture of the koala on the right side? And the students would answer a green circle for yes. So you see here I answered yes as both the student and the teacher user. It shows up in the yes-no column. If they answer no with the red X, it shows up as a no in the yes-no column. If a user has a question at any time, they can raise their hand. The notification sound-wise happens if the user raises their hand. And you can also see that to the right of the username, as well as the order. Let's say, for example, I answered teacher user's question. I click on their hand, and the student user's hand is still up there, and I click that. But let's say, for example, that it was like this instead, where I answered student first. You'll notice that the number will change here. So I click that. You see that the number changed to a 1, and so on. So it'll go in order who raised their hand first, second, third, and so on. You can display an emote icon, show happy, sad, confused, thumbs up, and so on. It's shown in the emote icon column of the user list. You can clear all the responses and the smileys by clicking this button. And if you had hands up like this, you could clear all the hands by clicking this button. Or you can clear them individually, one at a time, by just clicking on them actually on the user list itself, like that. In text message, right now, I as the teacher have permission to use it. Actually, these next 5 columns in the user list are for permissions for a certain component of the system. For example, this feather icon means whiteboard permissions. As you can see right now, teacher user and student user have whiteboard permissions, which means I can draw on top of this slide or any slide, actually. Like that. If I click the green box, let's say under the feather icon for the teacher, pay attention to the whiteboard tools here. They disappear just like that. And if you enable it, they reappear. So the same thing happens with public and private text chat permissions. Right now, I have the ability to type into public text chat. If I clear that permission, I no longer have permission to type into public text chat. And the same appears with private text messages. Actually, a student can private text message a teacher anytime, even if they don't have permission to do it, but they cannot private message each other if they don't have permission. So I'll show you an example. Let's say if the student user wants to private message me, and they type in a message, you'll see that a new tab appears in the text chat window with their name in it. If I click it, I can see a private message, and only I and the student can see those private text messages between us in this tab. And then the next two columns are for audio and video. So if I click this on, it'll turn my audio on. If I click my camera, it'll turn my camera on, and so on. We also have the ability at the user list, at the bottom of the user list, we have user list tools, which allow us to do other things. For example, we can share our screen. If I clicked on share my desktop view in full desktop, I would be able to share my screen. If I click on the user's name, the screen share button, and share my desktop control, they'll be able to control my desktop. And if they're also in the application version and I click on the student user and show user's desktop, I'll be able to see their screen without permission, make sure they're like not on Facebook or something.
What do you mean
mainly
if
designed for K through 12.
What do you mean if they're in the application version?
Right. There's two versions of amnotvet Connect. There's amnotvet Connect on the application, which I'm in right now, and there's amnotvet Connect in the web browser. So students pretty much have the same exact rights as in the application version, except for a few minor things. For example, a student, if they're on like Google Chrome as a web browser, they won't be able to share their screen. But they can see your screen if you're sharing it, and they don't have an automatic media converter. So like if they upload video, they would have to upload it in a particular format. But if they're in the application version, they don't have to do that.
So
and then the co-browsing.
So students have full access to the application system if they choose?
Yes. Yep, exactly, if they choose to. And the application is actually downloadable. I'll show you that screen. It's called amnotvet Enterprise version. It's just loading for a while because I'm sharing my screen, so I'll stop sharing my desktop. There we go. So right here, download amnotvet Enterprise inside of like Google Chrome. If they click on it, that'll allow them to run the session through an application version. But they most of the time won't need it, like I said, unless you're going to be using co-browsing or unless the student is going to be sharing their screen. They won't need the application. They can just come in through a web browser into the session.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So like I was mentioning, user list, in the user list tools, you can share your screen. You can create groups. So basically a group would have their own set of content, and you'll understand that in more detail when I go through content. You can change audio modes. For example, if I enable audio conference, that would allow me to turn on the audio of all the participants in the session at the same time, and they could just like mute and unmute their mics if they wanted to. If I select open microphone, they can use a push-to-talk button to communicate, and so on. And if I just leave it normal two-way audio video, then I, as a teacher, can have my audio video on, and I can turn on one student's audio video at a time, and it'll automatically switch when I turn on another user's audio. You can enable private audio conversations between any two users. If you highlight both their names and you click this button, you'll notice they become, they're inside of a private audio chat, so the main session cannot hear them. If I click clear, they'll be out of that. The private text message function works like this. I click on the user's name once. I click the private text message button, which is this text bubble icon here, and then a new tab opens with the user's name so I can private text message them. And if I want to change the publisher or the user who's able to publish their content for all other users to see, I can just click on the user's name and click the little person with the stick figure icon, and then they would be able to, their name would change to be in red like that. I just made student user publisher, and they'll be able to publish content. If I want to publish content myself, I click on my name, click the pencil icon, and now I'm publisher again, and I can switch my slides using these triangle at the bottom.
And
these triangles at the bottom.
Can this whole session be recorded?
Yes, and to record a session, we simply click on this little red dot here. We give it a name, such as my session. Click OK, and the session begins recording because the red dot starts to pulsate. And whenever we're done, we just click on the red dot again, and the session is immediately available for playback by any user.
Can I pause the recording without completely stopping it and having it saved?
Yes, exactly. That's the pause feature. You just click this
I
button
see.
here. It'll pause it. Let's say, for example, you were recording and you were like thinking, oh, I forgot my script. So you pause it. You can go print out your script, come back, click the pause button again, and the session continues to record.
Thank you.
Excellent question. One of the most unique portions of AmnotVet is the live support function. A user can just click this button, and when they do that, it actually opens up a new page that auto-fills out everything, including what role you are, what session you're in, what site you're on, what version of AmnotVet you're using, what operating system you're using. You could type in an issue. As an example, my class starts in 5 minutes, my microphone's not working, I don't know what to do. I click submit, it goes into our tech support ticket queue, and usually a response is dealt with between 60 to 120 seconds after it's filed. Some of our clients choose to use that feature. You can step out also at any point in time. If I click the step out button, all the permissions disappear and the recording pauses. If I click step back in, the recording continues and all my permissions are back. And if I think a student isn't, let's say, at their computer or something, I ask them a question, I turn on their audio, they're not responding in text chat, and I'm thinking, well, that student's basically not there. I can click their name, click this button, and that user will be booted out of the session. So if they don't come back in, I know that they aren't there, and if they do come back in, they're probably paying attention. Maybe something is wrong on their computer or something like that, so they're back in the session now. That covers the main windows, the quick response tools, and the user list tools, and recording and live support. And now we'll go on into the tabs here. So what we have on the right side right now is the presentation, or what every user is seeing. When I click on content, I can see all the content that I uploaded, as well as the content all of my students or other users uploaded. And I can actually preview what they're working on in real time. If they were, for example, in my class right now, and I double-clicked on this, if they were annotating it, after it loads here, I would see those annotations take place in real time. And that's what's really unique about AmnotVet's live classroom, is the ability not only to be able to upload and manage my own content, but be able to view other users' content and also add it to my content. And to add it to my content, I simply click on my content like wildlife.flv, click this button, and the content will be added into my slide deck so I can publish it. And if you want to delete content, you can just hover over slide and click X, it would delete it. And to upload new content, you simply click on the first button here and just double click on whatever you want to upload. Let's say my picture as an example, and there it is, it uploads, and that's how easy it is to upload content. If I want to create and upload a whiteboard, I simply click this W icon, enter a name for the whiteboard, like my whiteboard, click OK, and then the whiteboard is available here. I can double click on it, draw on it, do whatever I like. And then the last two features is, one is to take and upload a screenshot. So if I took a screenshot and clicked this button, it would upload the screenshot into my content. And if I wanted to delete my content, I would just, let's say multiple slides, just hold down Control key, select the slides, click this button, and it'll delete all the slides I selected. We also have very tight integration with Moodle or AmnotVet Manage, the learning management system. So inside of Media Library, I can send out a file to any end user inside of my live class, and they would receive it. For example, here I uploaded a PDF document that I want to send to everyone. I simply click on it, click on the send button, and all the end users would be able to receive it, open it, save it, whatever they like with the PDF. But what's really unique is if I already uploaded some content into my learning management system, let's say into the file, I'll show you the files portion so you can see what I mean. These files that we have in the learning management system are already available inside of the live session, so I don't have to re-upload the files. I can actually send the file out that's already in my Moodle content without having to re-upload it. Not only that, but I can also send out any of the activities or resources I have in my course. So any of the things like my forum, let's say reading discussion, I click on it, I click send, all the end users would receive that forum in real time in their class, and it also shows up in the recording. That's also very unique with AmnotVet. There's also integration with the gradebook. So any of the grades there I already have inside of amnotvet Manage. If I go into amnotvet Demo and Grades. So these grades are also available in the gradebook in my live class here. So if I give a user a grade here, let's say test student 3, and give them 100 for Alice hours, click Save, and then go into here and refresh it. You'll see under Alice hours here, right there, test student 3 has 100. So live integration with the gradebook is available, and also live integration with the assessment. So any of the quizzes that I have, I can send out with a single click. Just click on it, click send. All the end users would receive the quiz. If I want to make a new quiz, I just click on new quiz, and I can make a new quiz directly from here. I also have a quick one-question survey option as well. I could create, for example, that says, what is 1 plus 1? And then you can put in answers. So the first field is the question. The next 3 fields are answers. You can add more answers if you want, but I'll just keep it as 3 answers. I click Save. It shows up in my list. I click it on the list, click Send, and all the end users would receive the quiz. So here's like how the results will look like. Let me go ahead as the student answer it. And you'll see here, it shows a total tally, who answered it, and how what answer the user chose. So student user chose the answer 2, and here's my total tally. 1 out of 1 students answered, and so on. And lastly, co-browsing allows me to browse websites together with my student. For example, I could go to google.com here, and I could just, it's kind of like screen share, but a little bit faster since it's like a web browser thing, so there's less delay if you use co-browsing. You could theoretically do the same thing with screen share, but what's unique about it is that the student is kind of forced to view what you're doing. Like wherever I scroll, whatever I'm highlighting here, like this, you can see that there's this icon change happens, so the student can see what I'm scrolling over and so on. That pretty much covers amnotvet Connect. Any questions on amnotvet Connect? Okay, so I just clicked the recording button to end the recording, and I can show you amnotvet Publish next. So I'll go back into the LMS, go back into our live class. Here's that list of recordings that we had. So that recording which I just did, my session, if I clicked here, I could just view it like this. I clicked on it. If I click play, it'll play back the recording, and so on. I can fast forward it and rewind it. And also, let's say I fast forward to here. I was watching it till here. I'm done viewing it. I click this save button. It'll actually save my spot. So when I view the recording back, if I close it, it'll start from that portion. But amnotvet Publish, the third part, allows us to edit that recording. And to do that, we just click on the pencil icon to the right of the name of our recording, and a new window opens up, which is amnotvet Publish. And this is a timeline-based editor with no rendering. So if you've ever used a program like Camtasia, it's sort of like that, because it allows us to not only be able to edit pieces, like let's say I had some, I don't know, actually let me drag and drop some audio into this recording. And to do that, I click on the media folder, and this is all the screen share, audio and video, any of the stuff I had previously. Let's say I want to do this video. Just drag and drop it to the timeline there. It'll load in. And if you want less or more detail, you can use this drag and drop bar at the bottom left. And there's my audio piece there. But let's say I don't want them to actually see it. I can move it behind the koala like this. I can actually make the koala bigger like that, and they won't see the user list that way or the audio. Click on save, and it's saved in real time. There's no rendering. Same thing with the audio piece. This is a piece of audio. In Camtasia, if you cut something out like this, erase this part, and then move this back, if you click on save and then render, you'll probably wait for a long time. Here, it's like 2 seconds, and that change is already instantly published for all users to see. If I want to save it as a different recording too, I can just click the Save As button, and give it a different name, such as my session edited version 1, click OK, and it saves instantly as a different name. And these timeline bars, you can edit them too. Let's say, for example, I don't want user list at all there. I can simply click on it, click the minus, and it'll disappear. If I want to undo that, I can just click the undo button. If I want to redo, I can click the redo button. If I want to add a new timeline, and let's say put another image on, I can click on the plus icon that says add timeline, and then if I double click in it, I can give it a name such as, let's say, second pick. Click OK. There's my name. I want to put in some kind of picture there, so I click on my slides menu, and I want to put in the Blue Hills picture, so I drag and drop Blue Hills down here. There it is. Now I have 2 pictures, and I can adjust its size however I want. Click Save. Instantly saved for all the users to see. And during the recording also, you'll remember, I was sending out like a form and a file. Here, I'll turn down the audio. Okay, there we go. So here's the LCMS eGuide PDF. I click on the link, and it allows me to open the file. And that's inside of the recording, so end users would actually see that, and then they could continue the recording. So the recording pauses, they get a link, click the link, they can view the file, and so on. Here's another link. This one was for our forum. So we click the link, here's the forum, and so on. And it's really cool because you can actually move wherever you want those links to go and what time it should happen in the recording. And you can create new ones too by simply dragging the yellow playback bar wherever you want the interactive point to go. Click the I to make an interactive point, the orange marker appears, and then you can tweak it just by double clicking on it. So you could say, for example, visit Google and select what, and choose the answer for what you see first when you search koala bear, as an example. And we change the URL to be Google. And let's say we make this question truly interactive. What that means is we click on Add Option, and based on the options, let's say, for example, they actually did this. They went to Google. They typed in koala bear. What sites did they see? Maybe the first one is www.koalabear.com, and the second one is www.images.com/koala or something like that. And maybe the third one is that they want to go back and play back the recording earlier, go back to the beginning. And if we put check marks next to each option, you'll be able to determine where in the recording the user will go if they select a certain option. So let's say go back to the beginning, we'll go back to second 0, minute 0, hour 0. Koala Bear would go to minute 1, second 30, and images.com, Koala will go to minute 2, second 30. And I'll make it required that they have to go to Google. I click OK. When I play back that interactive point, I'm presented with a site. I still can't click any of the options yet because I haven't visited Google yet. I visit Google, I do all my searching and everything, I go back to the recording, and I say, well, I want to play back from the beginning. Watch this yellow playback bar. It goes back to the beginning. Let's skip over and play that again. And instead of choosing go back to the beginning when it hits, of course, we visit Google, do our stuff, and we go to image koala. And you'll see it skips forward there. So you can kind of create a branched learning environment that way. So if a user gets something wrong, they could get a different explanation on how to do the thing, and then another interactive point comes up and so on. So it's very in-depth for learning processes. And not only can you add interactivity, but any of the media that we have in Moodle, any of our activities, any of our files, you can drag and drop them here. So any of the files we have uploaded, like their infographic presentation, PowerPoint, drag and drop, it's an interactive point. Any of our slides that we had in AmnotVet Connect, we could drag and drop them down into here, and they would appear as the image. And you can resize it and so on. Any of our activities or resources inside of our course, we can also drag and drop, and that becomes an orange marker. And we can even mix any of the other sessions that we recorded. Let's say someone did a demo on July 30th, just drag and drop it down, and there it is. All the timelines appear, all the media, and so on. I'll make it a little bit smaller so you can see that. Maybe this one as well. So that allows you to basically mix and match sessions. You can use or reuse materials and so on. And if you want to record new audio, you click this little record button. It should ask us for a name here. So I'll put in my new audio. I'll be talking and so on. And while I'm talking, it's actually recording. I zoomed in too far. There we go. It's recording right there. Click record button, and it uploads in, and we should be done. Just like that. And of course, let's say we want all of our windows, you know, we forgot how the original windows even looked. We can click on this button, and they'll be back to, you know, in a smaller view, and so on. And that covers AmnotVet Publish. Any questions on AmnotVet Publish?
I have a question. What are your, can you give me examples of what your clients would use this for?
Sure. Believe it or not, a lot of them use it to actually shorten recordings. So let's say, for example, they're having a live class and they want to reuse that live class as a lecture for students that didn't make it there. They could cut out all of the social stuff that they're talking about with their students that's not related directly to the class using this tool. Or they could cut out any of the students' questions if they just wanted to have a lecture available. So this could be used as an audio-video editor or an editor for any of their screen shares that they did. It can be used to add interactivity into the session. So let's say, for example, I recorded my whole lecture. I want to reuse that lecture, but I also want to add an assessment. You know, I recorded that lecture 2 months ago. I want to reuse it, but I want to have an assessment at the end. They could just drag and drop the assessment into here, click save, and they're done. So it could be used for something small like that. Or it could be used to actually create a lecture right after, you know, you create it inside of AmnotVet Connect. There's a lot of stuff you don't like in it. You can cut all that stuff out using this tool and move around your interactive points after you do that so that everything's in sync and so on.
Now, if a student or a group of students working on something want to create a video, can they do that from inside your system?
They can if you allow them to. You would need to set up a custom role for them that allows them to add, let's say, a live class to the course, or you could just select their name from the moderator list. I'll show you that right here. So
yeah, what I'm thinking of, Nikita, is, for example, a lot of times I'll have groups and they're preparing a presentation, and before they come to class, I want them to create a video of their presentation. So that's the type of thing I'm talking about. Okay.
Absolutely. You can do that for sure. Well, you just have to select their name from the moderator list ahead of time, and you could do that just once, and then they could use that each time that you have them record a video, as an example. Or you could just have a single room and change the moderator each day, however you choose to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask another question?
Yep.
Do you, within your grade book, is there a rubric system that is built in?
Yeah, there is one by default, but you can add your own. Are you talking about scales, like different types of scales?
Well, either that or a traditional rubric.
Like this, something like separated and connected ways of knowing?
I don't know.
I bet that's one of the things you're talking about, like the type of styling of grades that's used, like how you grade, like something like a scale of grading, I suppose. I think that's what you mean. If that's not what it is, we probably don't.
What does that look like? Can you show us what that looks like right there?
Yeah, let me see if I can add a new one actually. Let's see here. Let's call this rubric system 2. Scale number 4, 2. Save changes. Nope. That's not the correct way to do that. Yeah, I think this is like, for example, is it something like where you're grading on a disappointing, not good enough, average, good, very good, excellent kind of a scale? Or like, what do you mean by rubric? Maybe this isn't the right thing I'm showing you.
It would be more like a,
Matrix.
yeah, it'd be a matrix or a 3x3 grid with different categories and different classifications within those categories.
There might be something available from the Moodle site we can download into this, like that's open source, that probably has a lot of different scales, but we don't have that built in by default.
Okay.
I certainly can see if that's possible to install. There's probably a module for it, since Moodle has 57 million users. I'm sure that was one of the use cases they had from those 1,000 activity blocks that I mentioned we could install.
Let's say that you did find some, and then we decided to go with you, and we said we want those installed. Is that the kind of stuff you do just because you're a nice guy?
That would probably be part of like the setup and everything, like where we do that maybe once, totally, for no charge and so on. But then we also have support blocks. So let's say, for example, it's not just that you want. You're like, well, that's just for now, but later on we might want to do this. Later on we might want to do that. We have on-demand support blocks starting in blocks of 10 hours, so that anytime there's an issue from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., any question like that, such as, well, we want this, we want to install this, we want to tweak that, and so on, we can do that as part of that support hour thing on demand. And a lot of clients actually don't end up using all of it. For example, that 10-hour support block could last you 4 months, 6 months, 2 months, depending on how often you want to change things and so on.
Thank you.
Any other questions on any part of the system that you saw? Anything else you wanted to offer, Nikki?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Right. Well, it's getting late on a Friday afternoon, so we won't prolong this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. So I'll go ahead and stop the recording now. And